it is an interference with people's right to do what they want to do. It may or may not damage them if they're adults and they want to make that choice. I think it is a great mistake on a number of grounds for society to treat them like criminals. There was a question over there? I'll repeat the question if they can't.
Okay. So my question has to do more on the production side, and you touched upon it in the medical marijuana. But I completely agree with what the bill is trying to do. But how does it break down the value chain, and how does it deal also with the regional problem that now people are going to jail over here, but people are dying in Mexico by the thousands? So how does that play?
Well, the bill is very simple because what it does not set up a distribution chain. It removes the negative. I mean, it removes the prohibition. Two things. As to the production and distribution, that's a state matter in those states which make it legal. The problem there is that the states, having made it legal, have the power then to create the conditions under which it's grown and who can sell it and what the licensing is and what degree of medical prescription you need. The federal government interferes with that. So our job there is simply to remove the federal prohibition. Similarly, what we do at the federal level with the use outside of medical marijuana is simply to remove the federal prohibition. The states could then make it illegal if they wanted to. The next step, though, would be for there to be some federal rules as there are. Well, I take it back. With regard to both cigarettes and alcohol, those are state matters. I mean, we do say in our bill that you have to protect the states. It is a crime to ship marijuana into a state where it is illegal. We remove the federal prohibition. If a state removed the state prohibition, then it would be treated like any other product. And you can only ship it into a state that allows it. There's precedent for that because, as you know, the 21st Amendment, which repeals the 18th Amendment, which was prohibition, makes it very clear, and that was the political price of repealing the 18th Amendment. States have unusual powers over liquor. The Interstate Commerce Clause and even the First Amendment don't fully apply where liquor is involved because the 21st Amendment says states will have complete control over the sale of liquor. That would be a similar thing because of the deal with marijuana. So we remove the federal prohibitions and leave it up to the states to decide how they want to do it. Yeah.
If we could have anyone who's interested in asking a question line up behind the microphone, that would be it. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for coming. I think that the logic behind your bill makes a lot of sense. In between bringing it out into the open so that you can tax it, the failure of prohibition, the problems with discriminatory enforcement. And to that I would add, in addition, I guess, the havoc that the drug war is wreaking in Latin America and elsewhere, as well as here in the U.S. I guess my main question for you is, if you take that logic with respect to marijuana and say, it's better for it to be legal and perhaps regulated as opposed to prohibited, what is different about, besides from the point of view of actually passing a bill, what is different about other drugs that makes it such that you would not necessarily support a similar approach to those drugs?
Practicality. I'm having a hard enough time getting marijuana done. I do think there are some differences. One is the extent to which something is physically addictive. And I think it is reasonable to say, okay, we're going to do something, although clearly tobacco smoking has been physically addictive, and that's not necessarily conclusive. There are two things that could alter that with some drugs. To what extent does it affect behavior? And to what effect is it physically, seriously addictive? I don't think either physical addiction or inducing bad behavior are at all problems with marijuana. As you get into other substances, those have to be taken into account. That's not dispositive. You might still do it. I mean, alcohol and tobacco both have those properties. Alcohol clearly has a negative effect on how some people behave. There is a category of drunk and disorderly. I don't think there is one of baked and disorderly, mainly because people generally don't get disorderly when they've been smoking marijuana. But those are reasons to put those off. There's a logic to it. Yes, I would say I hold to the principle. I get into all this over gambling. I just reread On Liberty by John Stuart Mill. He was a great writer. I just read a great biography of John Stuart Mill by Richard Reeves. He was an extraordinary man. He was a feminist when everybody thought that was bizarre in 19th century England. But the principle that you should be able to hurt yourself is okay. But the other things about it being, if it's physically addictive, it's still hurting yourself. But the question is, how much warning do you get? And the key question, though, is what does it do to your behavior? There are some of these drugs in particular which are likely to have a negative effect on your behavior. So for those reasons, I think before you can simply say, okay, no problem, I want to know the answer to those two questions, marijuana passes both tests. And so I put off the tougher question.